kind of brings me back down to earth. But along that line, here about a year or two ago, down in Calhoun County, the man had a barbecue, and he walked around the corner of the barn, and there was his little 3-year-old daughter, and an older fellow had pulled her pants down, and at any rate, the father just stepped in there, and he beat the man to death with his fist. Another case kind of like that was a case of a man in Brazoria County, had a flat tire, had 2 teenage boys. They were changing the flat tire, and a drunk came along, drunk driving, ran over the vehicle, killed both the teenage boys. And they said when the police officers got there, the drunk driver had a little hole over his left ear, and nobody saw anything, and nobody could find a gun. Now, when I brought that up on another talk show, the guy's response was, well, Conn, that's murder. And my response was, call it what you will. That drunk driver will not kill another teenage boy, and that feller will not rape another 3-year-old little girl. Call it anything you want to call it. But the result is they won't molest anyone else. So that's where I'm coming from. And now we got Tyler on the phone. We got 2. We got a Tyler and a Ed both. And this says Ed is first, and my phone's ringing. So, my goodness. Ed, are you out there?
Yes, I am. Hello, Mr.
Tyler, hold on. You'll be right. You'll be next. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay. Anyway, I'm glad you brought these issues up. What's happening in this country, what's been happening over a period of years, is what is the new normal, the destruction of our society.
Yes.
You talk about going back to the old ways. Well, back further many years, prior to NAMBLA and these other organizations, when the person was convicted of a crime, he was sentenced properly. And part of what's transitioning today with these so-called Democrats that are communists, it's Marxist philosophy, is the total destruction of our culture, and has permeated our entire society so that the absurd is now the new normal.
Well, that's true. That's true, Ed. And, I keep asking, what road are we traveling? Where does this road take us?
I'm seeing something I want to share with you on that.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Well, you want to know about my trip to Russia. I got to tell you something that was very fascinating to me. And it's kind of related to what you're talking about, how our society seems on a downward trend. I was having dinner with a lovely family, friends of my wife, a friend that she worked with for years and years and years. They have a 20-year-old son who doesn't want to leave the house. Russia is now in the beginning stages of dissension as well. They're a very family-oriented country. They believe in family values, very moral. I know some people may want to debate that, but anybody who does, just understand human behavior, human nature. It's the same everywhere you go. However, Russians take pride in family, sort of like Americans do, but they do it in a very traditional sense. But this son, he doesn't want to work. And the mother, she was thinking she's moving to a new apartment. They call them flats. And they're thinking about letting their 21-year-old son just live in this flat for free. I told her she's making a big mistake, and she didn't understand what I meant by that. Well, my experience from that is what's happening in America right now. We're protecting our kids. We're losing our values because we're protecting our children. And that's why I always preach, you got to be tough on your kids. Quit giving them things. You want America to be strong and be like the old ways? Quit spoiling your kids. Make them struggle like we did. Remember what made you successful, Ed? I remember what made me successful, because my dad made me do it on my own.
Well, I have told a lot of young parents, there's 2 things you need to teach your children, and you need to start when they're about 2 years old. You need to teach them what no means, and you need to teach them how to work. If you don't teach them what no means, there's a penitentiary down in Huntsville called the Texas Department of Corrections. They'll teach them what no means. If you don't teach them how to work, they'll never make a living. So teach them what no means and teach them how to work. What do you think, Ed?
Well, I'd like to point out what I think is basically a role reversal between the United States and Russia. When I was a kid in school, I was taught that the definition of peace in the Soviet Union is when the world was subjected to the Soviet Union. I think that mentality, that group of people are currently the ones that are trying to seize control of leadership in this country. They're Marxists. And Russia has taken on basically the role of America, say, in the 20s and 30s, with the families, since the removal of the Soviet mentality.
Well, the Soviet mentality, the people have never changed. They were still about family and family values. The government was communism, but the people, and it was never really communism. People say Russia was communist for 60 years. It wasn't. It was an oligarchy. It was a few men controlling, because in a true communist environment, there's equal sharing and there's equal leadership based on your position. And this true communism and Marxism was really never practiced in Russia, and the people have always had family values. I think they're 2 generations behind us, because I'm concerned that their family values are going to start giving away to certain modern cultures that have affected America for years, and I'm starting to see that trend, noticing that in Russia. In other words, do you remember, Ed, growing up in the 70s? You sound like you're near my age.
I think I'm a little older than you, but what you're referring to, John, is the titular. I think it's called the titular cycle, where you go from oppression to a desire for freedom and that sort of thing, and it's a big syndrome.
Yeah.
And you enjoy liberty, and then you go back down the downward spiral again.
Well, Ed, an old man said to me 40 years ago, Mr. Booker in Franklin, Texas, he said, "Conn, what this country needs is a good old-fashioned depression." And at the time, I thought, boy, he's crazy. But,
how are you going to say country butt whipping?
But, I now understand what he was saying. Go down to H-E-B and watch how many mothers are pushing a 10-year-old kid in the grocery cart while he's playing on his cell phone or whatever kind of device that he's got.
The dads are just as bad.
So, now I understand what Mr. Booker was saying. When we have evolved to a society where you don't teach kids how to work, you don't teach them any value system, a depression would would bring us all back down to earth. But at any rate, Ed, we sure appreciate your call.
Have a good day, folks.
You be careful
too,
up there.
Ed.
And I think we got Tyler holding on the phone. Tyler, you still there?
Yes, sir. I had a lot of points I wanted to make, but I don't have a lot of time. I really like your guest you have in today. He's making a lot of good points, and it reminded me of a painting that actually I have in my garage, and it's about the Roman Empire, but it's along the same lines of what you guys are saying, and I'll just kind of read to you what it says. It says, hard times create strong men.
Yes.
And then now it continues, strong men create good times. And then good times tend to create weak men. And then weak men create hard times. So it kind of goes back to the cycle.
I like that. I like that cycle. I've always used a term called entropy. It's an old scientific theory, but I like yours better. It's easier to understand. Entropy just means that everything that's organized, like atoms are formed by quarks, molecules are collections of atoms, molecules form substances, substances form materials, materials form things that we built. So, stop. I know, and this is the house that Jack built, right?
I like Tyler's.
I know, Tyler's is better, but to rise above entropy is where we're at, and that's based on 2 things, intelligence and work. And it's like, imagine a pyramid. Down at the bottom, you have entropy, like worms, amoebas, disorganization, chaos. So when they say everything that forms substances will break down sooner or later into its original atomic disorganized substance. But I equate that with man, too. But you're a little more encouraging because you're presenting it as a cycle. So I think I'm going to start adopting the way you're presenting this. I think that's really good.
Well, Tyler, let me say I have a suggestion. get that painting out of your garage and put it in your living room, or loan it to me and I'll put it in mine, because that's
Or even better
very
yet,
true.
send a picture of it to me.
Yeah, look what good times
I
have
will.
done. People always talk about how government doesn't work, but look at our local government. Guess what? We have turn on a spigot in our house and water comes out of it. I don't have to find a lake and scoop out water. Well, that's an example of our
Okay,
local
so I
government
gotta
working.
I gotta stop you right there. So I have these grandchildren that I talk about
Well,
periodically.
Let's let Tyler.
But this is really good. But really quick. So I tell her all the time. I said, so you turn the water on. She likes to run it and play it and all that. And I tell her, no. I said, we got to go. I said, the lake that you like to swim in all the time, because that's her favorite place to go. I said, that's where the water comes from. So when you run it out the faucet, you're running your swimming pool out.
Okay.
So she's got it, And so then we're teaching that. We're teaching those
Go
boys.
ahead, Tyler. We didn't mean
Well-
to overtalk you here. So.
Oh, no, it's fine. Another thing I wanted to say, two things. So I agree with your guest as well about local government. And I think local government is really the answer to most of our problems, really.
Amen.
Because here's the thing. These even state government, like guys like Hugh Shine and our local city councils and stuff like that, like these guys have to remain in our communities. They have to shop at the HEBs that we shop at. They have to endure the crime that we have to endure. They're on the front lines with us, and so therefore they're more accountable. These guys in Washington are totally aloof. They spend most of their time in Washington, and they get indoctrinated by this brainwashed culture of high society, and it's just not the reality on the ground. And so I think
A good example, Tyler, is Joe Biden. Joe Biden says himself he has never held a public sector job.
private sector job.
Private, yeah. And these are the people, government, you should never be a career politician. And that's why I love Trump so much, because he reminded Hillary that she's been in government for over 30 years. That's not serving man. That's us serving them.
What are you bringing to government if you've never worked?
Well, that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. Tyler, we're all saying the same thing. I use the example that if you never got on the horse and you never got throwed, you never had to get back on. Well, I'm referring not just to a horse. I'm referring to a horse called life. I got on a horse called life many years ago, and I've been throwed more time than I can count. But I
wasn't
got
going
up
to say
and got back
anything.
on.
I wasn't going to say anything about that.
Hey, and the last thing I wanted to say to any young people out there listening is y'all were talking about the value of hard work. And let me tell you, I personally have seen both sides of that coin. Whenever I went to college, all I did was go to college. I didn't work, and I regret that a lot, because you know what? There's something within a human being, I believe, totally, that gets a lot of value and a lot of self-worth and self-identity through their work and their labor, because we were created to do that. And so any person who's being lazy is just shooting their own self in the foot for many reasons, but also mentally, because you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to be happy. You wonder why you're drinking, why you want to do all these other things. You're sad. You're depressed. Well, I think a lot of that can be summed up. If you just put your nose down and go to work and make something better for you and your family, then a lot of these things have a way of solving themselves. And that's something my grandpa taught me, to be honest. And
That's good
yeah.
wisdom right there. It's like that kid that says, I'm a loser because my dad's an alcoholic. No, your dad's an alcoholic because you're a loser.
Yeah,
Let's, keep it in perspective, right?
Well, it's called the work ethic. See, that used to be handed down from generation to generation. It was one of the American values was the work ethic. But now that's going away. We have parents that don't teach the work ethic. They teach, you have to go to college. And I'm not against college, but I'm just saying I would like to see people go to work, get a little bit of experience in life, and then go to college. The smartest people I have ever met was people who had a college degree with some life experiences combined.
I saw the best Facebook photo. Art history major complains about not being able to find a job, and a non-educated lineman is cutting his power off for non-payment.
Yeah.
I have no college either. I have 5 years of trade school, and I'm extremely proud of it.
Well, I'm a first
Well, guys-
semester dropout, so.
I saw the same Facebook post and I loved it, and I'll let you guys go because I'm actually delivering pizzas right now, trying to make a little side extra money. So I got to go deliver some pizzas. But,
Well,
Hey, it's great talking to you.
Later.
Keep the capitalism going, sir.
Yeah, you're setting a good example, Tyler. Just keep on keeping on.
You know what? We grew up in a good time. I'm going to tell you
Well,
why.
we did.
Because when we were growing up, we didn't have these cell phone distractions. I got 2 cell phones right here. And if I would have had these cell phones when I was a kid, I would not have been playing Army out in the fields and getting whipped up all the time. I would swim in creeks. I'd discover vines, swing in vines. I totally risked my life. I did so many stupid things as a kid, but boy, did it make me, stronger. It made me stronger. I think technology's kind of messed us up. Parents overprotecting their kids. And now we've got a whole generation of kids who are expecting the government to take care of them. It's just gotten crazy.
And see, when I was a kid, I was in that live oak tree out there hollering, "Remember the Alamo," shooting my cap pistol. Well, today you don't have "Remember the Alamo" or remember anything else. It's just computers everywhere.
No, you don't say "Remember the Alamo." Now you apologize for it and you give them a ticket to come on over on this side.
Yeah, and convert us back to old Mexico.
That's right. Well, you know what? You may as well rename California New Mexico because it is becoming the new Mexico.
But what we need to understand is the people is who's making this. It's our, there's an old saying, silence is consent. So if the good people in California stand idly by and watch this happen, then it's their fault. Silence is consent. If you don't say anything, then I guess you agree with it. And that's why on this show, by Ganny, we say something on this show. We're not going to stand idly by and watch it happen and not say anything. We're going to say something. And right now, Edward in Copper's Cove has something to say. Edward, you out there?
Yeah, Con. I'm Edward from California. From a year or more ago, I had to go out to California for a little bit.
Yeah.
And what you were just saying about speaking out, that's the most important thing we can do, sir, is everywhere we go, we have to speak to people.
Yes.
If we don't speak to people, then no one thinks there's a commonality, even if we have a commonality.
Well, and we have to show that we're not alone, and that the man you're talking to is not alone. And your puppy wants to chime in now. We need to let
he's got chickens next door.
Well,
but it's like our founding fathers. There was only 10% of them who talked and conspired, let's say, into our treason of the revolution. But the rest of the population did know what was going on. They may have stayed idly quiet until action was required. But if we don't talk to people, they don't know what's going on.
Historically, Edward, 6% of the people make something happen. 14% watch it happen, and 80% wonder what the hell happened.
You got that right.
That has been true throughout history.
What's his name?
So,
Edward, one of my most favorite quotes is, "Never have so few people done so much for our country." And I don't remember if that was from Churchill or what, but I love that quote. A few good people kept the rest of us free. You know what I'm saying? And that might apply to England and Churchill. I'm not sure. If somebody knows the correct inventor of that quote, I sure would like to hear from you.
Well, let me inject something real quick, and I need to shut up, I guess. But we need to talk to our friends and our neighbors and other people, and that's what Edward is saying. But I'm reminded of a man that said, "I glory in plainness." I think that we are better off to just speak plain, good old, understandable English than we are to try to confuse someone with our vast college degree vocabulary that nobody understands.
In other words, you don't want us to amaze you with our verbal acuity?
No, I think that's what's wrong. I've got a
the
friend
best doctor. The best doctor out there gets the information related to the patient.
Yes.
Now, they all know how to speak Latin. But the patient doesn't generally.
Right.
So if you don't use the language that a person can understand, and one of my quotes, I don't know if someone invented it or if I just picked it up through my life, but the reality is we're all bright enough for the room we live in. What the world has done is they've made the world bigger than the average person. They think they should have a bigger world. They think they should all go to college whether they're capable of going to college.
Yeah, and whether it benefits them or not.
And the reality is, if you're in the Celtics, Boston Celtics basketball stadium or whatever it's called, you can see one candle from anywhere in that building. Now, you can't read a book at the top row, but you can at the table down where the candle is. So back to what I was saying is, we're all bright enough for the room we're in. Everyone is intelligent. And as long as you talk to them in a simple enough way, they will get everything. They know when they're eating a hamburger and not a hot dog. So that's how people are. Our politicians think we're all stupid because they've been getting away with stuff because they've been stealing elections. They forget that they've been stealing the election, and they just think we went along with it.
That goes back to the silence is permission, just like you were saying.
Well,
Correct.
and
Silence is permission.
I've got another quote that I'll mention. In the last days, man will confound himself with his own intelligence. Now, in the last days, man will confound himself with his own intelligence. If that's not true today, I love to hear a man on Fox News. His name is Gary Davis Hanson from the
Victor Davis Hanson.
Yeah,
Victor Davis Hanson.
Yeah, because when he speaks, he uses plain old English language. He doesn't use a lot of $20 words that he learned yesterday at Harvard. And I understand everything the man says. So I think that as we're communicating with our fellow citizens trying to help save this republic, we need to use just plain good old English language that we grew up with.
Well, we're confusing each other. The Democrats have confused us because they call themselves the progressive left. Now, when you come up with a bad idea, is that really progressive? Because that's not effective communication. In fact, that's just darn right lying.
But it's change.
Well,
and
not just that, but nothing. Sorry, Con, but nothing that's progressive is necessarily good.
But they overdose.
You know, if you progressively change something, your entire load in the truck is smashed because you progressively braked.
Exactly.
You weren't paying attention. So the word progressive does not mean anything in a good nature when it comes to a society, a culture, civilization, people in themselves.
Well, have we overdosed on change? Do we want to change things for the sake of change? And is that what the progressive movement is? Progressing toward change. Change at any cost.
I had a doctor teach me common sense on that, Con. You'd appreciate what he
stop
told me.
Saying that. You need to change your title of your show, sir. We spoke about this before, and there is no such thing as common sense. Okay, the fact that a baby is born not breathing doesn't mean it has the sense not to breathe. It's just the way it's programmed. Everything we've ever learned is practical sense. If you just go buy 3 chickens and put them in your backyard, you're not necessarily going to get eggs. You're not necessarily going to get anything.
Well, I would submit that common sense is a product of experience.
That's what I'm saying. So it's called practical sense. So the reality is we are false naming something and making people think that people have a sense when they don't.
I can see that's
people only have sense with practical sense. Like you were talking a year ago about the people who dropped off the puppies, thinking someone will just drive by the intersection and see these puppies out there and take care of them.
Well, let me share with you some practical sense real quick. So I go to the doctor several years ago, and he wants to know if I'm taking any medications. I was on a Herbalife kick. And I said, well, I got on Herbalife to help my weight down. And he says, well, what are you using? I said, it's called Mowong. It's a natural derivative of ephedrine. He goes, it may be natural, but so is cobra venom. But cobra venom will kill you. And that was some practical sense that has stuck with me for a long time.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying, but is it cool with you if we continue using the term common sense? Because I just really like that term.
I'm not saying we can't use the no, but again, go back to what the devil's all about. The devil is all about confusing language. The book, the 1984, the most important thing wasn't videos. The most important thing wasn't that everybody watched each other. The most important thing was that they had actually changed what language meant.
Yeah,
We've had 2 presidents recently come out, George Bush Jr. and Obama, both went on Charlie Rose and said words have meanings. We have a Department of Education. Every American knows words have definitions. But our presidents have to tell us they have definitions? Which means they're living by 2 definitions. So we have to be very clear with the language we use.
Yes, we do.
My grandfather was 90 years old when he died. Not a single one of his daughters went on a date without a chaperone. Was he a Democrat or was he a Republican conservative? He was a Democrat his whole life, but he was conservative.
Edward,
so we mix words.
Edward, don't lose this phone number. Call back in, but we got to go
I
to a
will.
break.
No, I understand. I appreciate letting me talk so much.
Well, we enjoyed your talk. So
I like what he had to say.
Common sense isn't a bad word. What I'm saying is we just have to be very particular and use the words correctly.
Right.
Because the devil has been around a long time.
Well, and I think that his influence is growing.
Well, it is, but I came up with something real simple the other day. The word good has 4 letters and the word bad has 3 letters. The reality is when we're all little kids and we're learning how to put words together and we're using building blocks, there is physically more letters in good. So there is physically more good in the world. We have to build it. We have to work on it.
That makes sense.
And we have to protect it. We have to talk about it and protect it because
correct.
I'm here to tell
you. And the reality is evil is the devil.
Well, I believe that Satan is alive and well, and I see his influence growing rapidly.
Well, the greatest lie the devil ever did was to convince mankind that the devil doesn't exist, not God.
Well,
I forget who said it, but that's a quote from somebody.
I'll guarantee
And the reality
you.
is the devil did. The devil has made people think the devil doesn't exist.
Well, he does, and he's alive and well.
Does.
It's and I think I keep saying it's decision time, boys. Whose side are you on, God or Satan? We need to get that figured out.
Well, nobody thinks that everybody thinks they're on God's side.
Well, right now we got to go to break before.
Thank you for letting me talk, and I appreciate your show very much.
Well, thank you for calling in.
And again, like the lady said last week, who was from the radio world, every person who calls in is 10,000, 5,000 people who are listening. You have to give your numbers more frequently, sir. It's too easy. I hear your advertisers. It's taken me 2 weeks of listening to your show before I fully got your number down.
Oh, okay. We'll repeat
and I'm not
again.
saying it's a difficult number, but I'm telling you, every time you finish your commercials for your advertisers, you need to give your numbers out.
I appreciate that suggestion. It's a good one.
Get some bumper stickers. I'll buy one.
Okay, mighty good. Well, thank you, Edward. And like I say, don't lose this phone number. Call back in. We're going to break, folks. Y'all hang in there. We'll be right back. Okay, folks, here we are back on the air with Common Sense with Conn. As per Edward's suggestion just now, the phone number here is 254-773-1400.
Write that down because you're going to need it next week because we got 3 minutes left of the show.
Well,
we already have a caller on the phone.
It's the same. It's the same as the call letters for the radio show.
Oh.
This is KTEM 1400. Well, our phone number here is 773-1400. So y'all write that down so you can call in.
Okay, I have a sincere apology to make to the audience.
Okay.
I misunderstood what Haven was saying about how much time we had left in the show. Yes, we have plenty of show left.
Well,
Sorry, people.
We're going to forgive you this time.
We got to get our hands gestures here down a little better.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well,
when are you going to women start paying attention to men?
Don't make me pop you.
Sorry, I was having a chauvinistic moment.
Yeah, and I'm not buying you any more Cokes either.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, too much
I'm
caffeine
sorry.
for you.
I'm
Let's go
sorry.
ahead.
And it is the caffeine. Oh, I'm making excuses. It's
we
the
got a
caffeine. It's not me.
Okay, here we are, folks. If y'all got something to say, we'll call in and we'll talk to you. Number here is 773-1400. If you want to sponsor the show or anything like that, the number to call is area code 254-300-1885. That will hook you up to my wife, and she'll take your information and tell you how to be a sponsor on the show or send money or whatever it is you want to do to keep this show on the air, because it does take money, and I don't get the money. I don't get a dime of the money. The radio station gets the money.
So since John's here, instead of us doing a commercial for him, you want to talk about John Dean Electric?
I do.
Yeah.
I actually have a worker working right now. I told him I'm going to be on the radio, and he's calling me. I had to type it. I said, I'm on the air, dummy. So, Dylan, if you turn the radio to 1400 KTEM, you'd get to hear your boss speak. And then, if you really want to be a member of my firm, come on, suck up a little bit and listen to me ramble. Be a real employee. Kiss butt. Come on, man. Come on. So, I'd like, I have a thing that...
And you're always looking for really hard, people that have real work ethic, right? Who want to learn a trade.
I actually may be losing a guy that I just hired. He has a really good work ethic, but he's been fighting with his wife, and he missed 2 days while I was in Russia last week, and he couldn't come to work together. And I said, you know what? If you can't get your things in order at home, you can't work for me. I'm not going to let my company go downhill.
He only has work ethic when he's at work then.
Yeah, but, he was supposed to work today. So I have a list here, and I wanted to read it to you. It's everything that my company offers. So we're electrical, we're air conditioning, and you know what? I had it, and now I can't find it. I'm looking. Don't give up on me. But like I said,
it's your company. You don't know this just right on the top of your head.
You would think, here it is.
Electric features. Oh, that is quite a list.
It's quite a list. So here's on the electrical end.
We can go in the other room and take a siesta.
No, this will be really quick. You got to remember, I talk fast, and I'll prove it to you.
Yeah, you do.
Electrical features: power distribution, service rebuilds, electrical repairs, equipment terminations, load calculations, electrical inspection, swimming pool and hot tub installation and power, new construction, residential, commercial, industrial, lighting design, water heater, electrical rebuilds, troubleshooting and diagnosis. Okay, that's the electrical.
On the weekends, you do auctioneering?
Yeah, if
I could. What do you want to give? What do you want to give? I'm a little too. I don't know.
Today.
I'm not country enough for. Oh yeah.
Well, you have jet lags. What's wrong with you?
Oh my God, 27 hours of no sleep. So.
And you're texting me on the tarmac, going.
I was having a moment. I was having a moment. Let me do my HVA.
Well, you might better revert back to letting me advertise for you.
I know you're better.
Okay, he's got one more list.
Here's my HVAC features.
Okay, just do it a little slower.
We do HVAC inspections. We do coil cleans. And again, when we do coil cleans, this is what makes us good.
Wait, is this your sexy voice you're trying to use for the women clients?
When we do,
don't get breathy.
When we do evaporator coil cleans, we do not use acid wash. We pull the coil. We take it to the car wash and we power wash it. People actually use acid when they wash a coil. Why would you wash a coil with acid? When your tennis shoes get dirty, do you dip it in a vat of acid? No, you wash it with soap and water. That's how we clean your coil. The only difference is we have to recover the Refreon, unsolder the lines, remove the coil, and then we have to vacuum the system out to make sure there's no contaminants after we solder it and recharge it.
What number are you on?
Okay, good. I'm going to be quick. We do complete AC servicing. We do complete AC repairs. We do new construction, new system installation, heater repair, air conditioner repair, ductwork repair and installation. We're about to end the season on ductwork repair. Why? Because this is freaking Texas. We do carbon monoxide testing on your gas furnaces, any kind of troubleshooting and diagnostics. Here's the good thing about us. People say, hey, how much are you going to charge me to figure out what's wrong with my air conditioner? We hate that question. Here's the deal. I can understand. I figured this out. It's expensive sometimes. So we do a $75 diagnostics. If my guy's got to get out his tools, we're performing a service for you. That's a diagnostic. And then we tell you how much it's going to cost to make the repair, which the diagnostic fee comes off. This way you have an opportunity to double check me and call my competition and see if my price is fair. So far, everybody always calls me back.
So he's saying that his repeat business is the best business he can have. And that's true of any business. So if John Dean Electric comes out and does you a real good job, you're going to call him again, and you're also going to tell your neighbor to call him. So that's the biggest benefit to any business is having satisfied
Well, that's what I was trying to
customers.
explain to this little Russian 21-year-old. And I was trying to teach him how we do business. And I said, my priority is I wanted to learn, because he doesn't know what he wanted to know what he wants to do. And I know you got another caller. He didn't know what to do for a living. He's 21 years old, can't make a decision. I said, look, I learned a trade, but I love taking care of people. I feel like this is what makes me who I am. I'm taking care of people. I'm contributing. I'm helping people. I'm serving humanity. And I feel very rewarded for that. And I do get rewarded. I get compensated financially. But the attitude is serve people first, and then the money will come.
Well, and along the line of young people not knowing what they want to do, that's why I am so big on apprenticeship programs.
I'm
If,
sending my guy to an apprenticeship program right now, the
Well-
independent electrical contractors.
I'd like to see every company have an apprenticeship program so that a 20-year-old who maybe doesn't want to go to college, maybe shouldn't go to college, it would be a lot better for him to come work for John Dean for 6 weeks and see if he wants to do that for the rest of his life. If not, he might want to go to a welding shop and learn how to weld, be an apprentice in a welding shop, and see if that's what he wants to do for the rest of his life. But so often we think that a child has to go to college and learn underwater basket weaving or whatever it is they get a degree in.
Underwater basket weaving?
Well-
Well, if you can do it underwater, you deserve a degree.
Well, right,
That's funny.
right now we got Michael on the phone, and he wants to tell us about it. Michael, are you out there?
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead on.
Well, a couple of things. First off, your guest, Mr. Dean, asked about that quote. And the quote was, never has so many owed so much to so many. Never has so much been owed to so many by so few. And that was a speech by Winston Churchill in 1940.
That was it. Thank you for that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I Archie bunkered the quote, didn't I?
Yeah. Well,
I mumbled it myself there, and I know the quote, but
well,
I'm on the radio, so I'm a little bit nervous about that, I guess.
Well, John needs a little guidance every now and then, so we appreciate your.
That's why I had to. That's why I remarried. I couldn't be
Well,
by
he did
myself.
good on that 10-minute commercial. I got to say that for him.
10 minutes. I thought I condensed it into 2.
No, it's you.
You convinced me. I'm an aircraft technician by trade, but if I need any electrical work at my home, I know who to call.
There you go.
The best part of us is if we mess it up, we come back and fix it for free. We do it right.
There you go.
We're here to
Can't
take
beat
care
that
of
with a
you.
stick.
That's right.
Well, my next issue is that earlier you had a caller who was concerned about the likes of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and such being on the Supreme Court, representing everybody and all. But I want to say this. I don't want liberal justices on the Supreme Court, and I don't want conservative justices on the Supreme Court. I want constitutionalist justices.
Amen.
People who will judge those cases by the United States Constitution and not by some political whim, whether it's on the right or the left.
I couldn't agree with you more. Why? I was like in my early 30s when I realized that we really do have division in the country, because instead of getting a justice that's going to be fair and follow the Constitution, it's always, okay, well, we're looking somebody on the leftist. We're looking for somebody on the right. And that caused me a lot of confusion for many years. I understand what the thinking is, but I'm like
Yep.
you. I would rather somebody make a decision based on what the Constitution says versus saying what
Absolutely.
their political mantra is. You couldn't have said that better yourself. I mean, that's
Well,
beautiful.
I could not agree more. We need constitutionalists on the court.
The next thing I want to say, though, too, is that there were 4 different men who were presidents of the Republic of Texas. Now, I'm going back to my Texas history that I learned in school that I don't think they teach anymore.
No, they don't.
But can you tell me who or which party Mirabeau Lamar belonged to?
Which
Or how about
party-
Anson Jones?
Oh,
What political party did Anson Jones belong to, or Mirabeau Lamar?
well, I think they belong to the Texas party. I
I'm
think they
gonna
were
find out.
wanting to. I think they were promoting Texas, not a party. One problem we
Sure.
have today is we have Democrats that are more concerned about the Democrat Party than they are of the country that allows the Democrat Party to exist.
Thank you. There were no political parties in the Republic of Texas, is my point.
There you go, and thank you for that point.
It says Edson Jones was a doctor, business person, member of Congress, and the fourth and last president of the Republic of Texas, sometimes called the architect of annexation.
Well,
and those men who became presidents of our Texas Republic from 1836 to 45 didn't consider themselves Republicans or Democrats or Whigs or Tories or anything else. They were Texans.
They were Texans, amen. And that's I'd like to bring that up. What's wrong in America, in our Congress today, is we don't have Democrats and Republicans that are United States citizens. They are Democrats, or they are Republicans, or they are progressives. They're not worried about saving the country. They're worried about saving their self and their salary from the U.S. Congress and the Democrat Party or whatever.
Well, what's happened with us is we had to align ourselves with the Republican Party because they seem like the only people left that maybe they want to keep our Constitution intact. But let me tell you, if the Republicans got on line, you and I, we're not going to be a Republican either because we're for the Constitution. We're for Texans.
Yes. And
thank you.
There seems to be a growing number of Republicans that are not for the Constitution. They're for, I guess, the Republican Party, but they're far outnumbered by Democrats who they want to save the Democrat Party, whatever it costs. If it means bringing in more immigrants, if it means bringing in more drugs across the border, they don't care as long as they get more Democrat votes. And somebody said they are a lot more interested in preserving the Democrat Party through other new votes, like from Honduras, Guatemala, wherever they're from. They're more interested in preserving the Democrat Party than they are in preserving the United States.
Yeah, the Democrats represent Canada and South America. They don't actually represent anything in America anymore.
Well, we better be concerned about saving this country, folks, because we're losing it as we speak.
And people think, but you're a racist if you want to preserve it. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well,
they think
the last
you're
thing
a
I want
racist.
to say,
Right.
Yeah.
last thing I want to say, and I'll get off the phone and let someone else talk, but I have Keenan that's down in McAllen, and how is it that everybody thinks that all the folks of Hispanic origin want open borders and don't want a wall? Because I've been down in McAllen, and I'll tell you what, they want a wall.
Well,
and I'm not talking just Anglos. I'm talking about Tejanos too. That they don't want all the crime and the drugs coming in, because where do those criminals go? They go to the Mexican community and they make victims out of our Mexican Texans, and that's not right.
Well, who is it that doesn't want a border? It's the Democrats. And I keep asking the question, what is their incentive to keep open borders? Do they get part of the drug trade?
Well, cocaine's a lot cheaper if you can get it across. But when you have to go out of your way to create more obstacles, then they have to raise the price of cocaine, and that's unfair for business trade.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about the fact that they are more interested in the drug trade than they are keeping America free. I've been around payoff all my life, and you probably have too. But
I have.
The Democrats that want to keep open borders, what is their incentive? What do they get out of this? Do they get a little rake off on the drug trade? Do they get maybe some children to go play with down on that island with Jeffrey Epstein?
They get more voters.
What do they get out of keeping the borders open?
What they get is the illegal alien vote.
Exactly. That votes Democrat.
Do you know why this has been a hard thing to deal with? Like the president and CEO of Tyson Foods, he was ballsy about 10 years ago. He said, if you get cracked down on illegal immigrations, I'm going to have to raise the price of my Tyson chicken. I said, well, no, you should be lowering it because it wasn't any good anyway. But he was basically saying that he needed illegal aliens to work in his factory. So the problem over the years has been the Democrats needed their vote and the Republicans needed their cheap labor. And guess what? I will not hire an illegal alien in my company. And plus, they're way overrated on working hard. Americans work hard. To be an American is not an easy thing. You got to earn it.
Well, you used to.
Well,
But now,
Well, my company,
Yeah, that's true too.
I'm sorry, my company hires anybody who's best for the job. They don't care if it's black, white, green, or gold. But thank goodness they do not hire illegal aliens, and they will call.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Edward. Michael. What is your company's name? I'll do you a free advertisement here. What is your company?
I can't say. If I did, I'd get in trouble.
Okay, no, never mind.
And I want to make a correction. I meant illegal aliens. I don't mean our Hispanics that are Mexican here in our country now. I know they're hardworking. I meant to say the illegal aliens that come in over, they're not all that. They're not saving you a bunch of money. They're not saving that much money.
Well,
no. Well, I'm not an illegal alien. I was born in Texas. My people been in Texas for 300 years, but they originally did come from Mexico. And that was a long, long time ago. We have no idea where they were from, don't care where they were from. We didn't grow up speaking Spanish.
But they built this country. Those are the people that we're talking about that we support. They built this country.
Well, and let's clarify something here just a moment since you brought it up, Michael. We keep hearing that this is a country of immigrants. We have to have more immigrants, more immigrants. It's a country of immigrants. Well, it used to be. But who were the immigrants that started this country? People like to point to the black slaves and all that kind of stuff. Well, who was it that made America America? I can tell you the biggest demographics in this country up until 1955 was the German community. Okay, before that,
absolutely,
it was the Irish, the Polish, the Czechs, the people like that. They came here, they had a work ethic, and they made America what it is.
And the Chinese built our railroads?
Yeah, the Chinese, to quote my history teacher, and I'd like to bring this up one more time. My history teacher said, let's keep this in perspective. In 1850s, a good black slave was worth $2,000. He said, if you had a horse worth $2,000, what would you do with him? Would you torture him? Would you cut him? Would you kill him? No.
Absolutely not.
You would take care of him, and they took care of the black slaves in 1850 because they were worth $2,000. Now, he used the example, and it's true. He said at the same period of time, what was an American Indian worth? Nothing. It was worth nothing. What was a Irish from New York? What was an Irishman worth?
Nothing.
Irishman wasn't worth anything either.
No. What was a Chinese coolie worth? It was cheaper to kill them than it was to pay them. So his point was, what would you rather have been? A black slave, a Chinese coolie, an American Indian, or an Irish from somewhere? Well, so I've heard enough about this preparation for slave days. Don't mention that to me anymore. I don't want to hear that. What do you think?
I don't either.
What do you think affirmative action was? Another thing that gets me stirred up is Cal used to call this show a lot. Very, very good supporter of this show. A good man. He was a black man from Killeen. But Cal was not an African American. He was an American black man. He put America first. For those people that say they're African American,
well, my reason for
what they're saying is they are African first and American second. Boy, don't tell that to me. If you owe so much loyalty to Africa, why in the hell don't you get on a plane and go back over there?
Well, it's like this. I don't say I'm a Scottish American. I'm an American. I don't say I'm a Scottish American.
Well, exactly. That's me.
Yeah. And I tell the black people, I say two things. You guys built this country. You made America great. Why do you want to line yourself up with a party that is trying to convince you that you deserve to get rewarded because of the struggles, the slavery, the struggles that made you strong and made this country better, and look at you thriving in this country, and you want to get reparations? Really?
Well, let me say
you
one
better
more
give
thing.
the Irish reparations because they were slaves too. They were indentured servants.
Well, let me say one more thing about that. And I heard this from my history teacher, but I also heard it about 2 years ago from Joe, whatever his name is. He's famous as a meteorologist, as a climate, what am I trying to say? You know, he does the weather. He's a weatherman. But anyway,
a meteorologist.
A meteorologist. Well, he made the statement that back in the 1800s, a bad hurricane hit on the Gulf Coast, wiped out
Right.
Atlanta or New Orleans somewhere, wiped it out. There was nothing there but dead people, disease, disaster. Who did they send to clean up that town? This didn't come from any group. It came from a weatherman. He said they sent the Irish down to clean up that disease-ridden, terrible, horrible situation. They did not send black slaves because black slaves were worth too much.
Yeah, they're too valuable.
They sent the Irish down there to clean it up. So let's keep things in perspective, folks. And I got to quit.
If we're going to keep things
here.
in perspective, I want to know, why do they call them hemorrhoids? Shouldn't they call them asteroids? Think about it. Are we not keeping things in perspective here?
Michael, I think we're running out of time. I do appreciate
Well, I
your
appreciate
call.
the time. Thank you so much. And my final word is that I had two ancestors fought in the Texas Revolution. One died at Goliad, and the other one was with Seguin at San Jacinto. And I'm an American first, but by golly, I'm a staunch Texan second.
Well, my first
All
name,
right.
my first name is Conn, and that comes from my grandfather's last name. He was George William Conn, and his ancestors came to America in the 1600s. His name was Hugh Conn, so the name Conn in my family goes back to before America was America. And
Yes, sir.
on the other side of that, some of the Gillens that are here in Temple, and I have a cousin that was I have a distant relationship to the Gillens. They were the seventh family to take a Spanish land grant under Stephen F. Austin in Little Rock, Arkansas. So some of my family goes back to Texas before it was Texas, and some of my family
Absolutely.
goes back to America before it was America. So yeah, I've got pretty deep roots.
So next week, why
Well,
don't
thanks,
we talk
Mr.
about...
Tatum.
Hey, thanks,
Thanks,
Michael.
Mr. Tatum, and thanks, Mr. Dean, and thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
And I'll leave you all go. So
Thank
long
you.
now.
Okay, thank you.
So next week, why don't we talk about how we're going to save Texas from the Democratic Party, and they're trying to take it over.
It's turning blue. You look at the map, it's getting bluer all the time.
Yeah,
You've
so
got
that's
people
next
coming
week's
in from
conversation.
McAllen. Oh,
Well-
it's getting crazy.
When Texas is gone, America will be gone.
See you next week.